there's a danger that you've become a conspiracy theorist?
I'm a conspiracy analyst. I can speak the truth to people because they need to hear it. The war in Ukraine is actually about biolabs owned by billionaire Americans.
Right.
Google that. Goldman Sachs, working for Jeffrey Epstein. Jill Biden was Biden's babysitter when she was 15.
Yeah, that is not true.
Okay, get on Google. You can Google everything I say because I don't lie.
You cannot believe everything you read on Google.
Send him the Google.
You're saying a lot of things which are not substantiated.
Half the crap you say is BS. You and your Palestinian crap.
What is your view of the war?
It's a war on a whole other level. And we're fighting subterranean wars. The whole Western world is on the verge of flame. I was put in several mental institutions, and I don't walk around showing my wiener to kids. F it, Piers. I'm not gonna shut up.
If you can't just say it, the chances are that she's already said it. Roseanne Barr is the seemingly uncancelable comic. She's back on tour, has a new podcast, and has recently become a serious political commentator. On a show called Uncensored, it probably comes as no surprise that she's one of our most popular ever guests. And with the mandatory trigger warning, I'm delighted to say Roseanne rejoins me now. Roseanne, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Piers.
How are you?
I love that. Thank you so much for having me on. As I say on my podcast, which you can see on roseannebarr.com, I start everyone like this. Greetings, Earthlings, humans and others, and all members of the animal kingdom in love with my melodious voice, who people send me videos of their animals sleeping soundly in front of my voice on the podcast. Keep sending them. I love them. Because you know why? Because animals are sleeping soundly when they hear my melodious tones, because they know and recognize that a voice of intelligence has, for once, pierced this unified veil of bullshit.
You know, last time you came on, one clip on our TikTok account got 14 million views. I'm going to play it for you here.
What is a woman?
A woman is me. A woman is somebody whose breasts hang down to her stomach and who has a prolapsed uterus from giving birth to 5 ungrateful little bastards who have never had to work for a thing in their goddamn life. That's what a woman is.
You know, Roseanne, that might be the single greatest answer to any question I've ever had in my entire illustrious career as an interviewer.
I remember when I wrote that joke, it just came to me for some reason.
Let me ask you, on a wider point, this whole idea of trigger warnings, I made a joke of it when I introduced you, but we now have theatres for a Shakespeare play where, you know, Macbeth or King Lear or something, where there may be a death, for example, people have to be given a trigger warning that you might be upset by what you may be about to see. To which I think it was James Judi Dench who said recently, well, if you're going to be upset by it, don't go. I mean, how has it come to this, where people going to the theatre to watch a Shakespeare play need trigger warnings?
Well, because they're self-appointed censors, you know. They're haters with no talent, basically. And what they do is they sniff around until they smell some talent, and then they must crush it out, especially if it's, you know, has anything to do with today or is funny at all. They must destroy funny and relevant as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, it seems to me that,
and they're fascists.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are fascists, and they're joyless. That they want to suck the joy out of everything, which means comedy is under threat like I've never seen it.
Oh yeah, well I knew comedy was under threat in when Obama signed the NDAA. I said now he's going to destroy all of comedy because you know you'll be carted off to jail if you say the wrong thing. And, you know, it's happening. It's happening. People are in jail for their tweets.
Yeah.
People don't want to think of that, but it's true. I mean, Julian Assange is in jail because he exposed what happened under the Obama administration. You know, what happened at, Abu Ghraib. He's in prison for all these years for exposing. So, I mean, it is a fascist regime. Let's just cut to the chase. It is a fascist regime. And two things fascists don't like: dialogue and humor. They hate those two things. So, of course, they also don't like any scent of truth, which actually, the people need to have liberty, because you can't have liberty without truth. So it's just a big unified field of bullshit. And it's also a color revolution by the book, the Marxist book. You know, it's a color revolution in America. We exported it everywhere: Egypt, Iran, everywhere. And, now it's back home. And, all the birds have come home to roost, in the UK too. We're on the wrong path, and we have to turn it around.
What do you mean by color revolution?
But war and death. Huh?
What do you mean by color revolution?
What?
What do you mean by
it's
color?
It's a Marxist overthrow. Color revolution, Google it.
Right.
It's part of the whole Marxist playbook, color revolution. When you figure out enough ways to divide a society against itself, when you turn like a little tiny group of people into a protected class that then can complain and affect legislation and pull it away from schools and the taxpayers, it's a grift to drain off all the money to little NGOs and, take people's money, send it out of the country, put it into private pockets. It's like, an inverse pyramid scheme, Marxism.
You've been seen now warming up crowds.
And that's what's going on. Yeah, the commie government is doing show trials, just like they did in Stalinist Russia. They're doing show trials, which they know will be overturned by, the Supreme Court.
Well, that was I was about to ask you. Well, I'm about to ask you about that.
It gives them news.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that.
Yeah, it's just the news covers the news. The news, the fabricated news, covers what's really happening. And, as horrifying as it gets, the better for the news.
Let me ask you specifically about Donald Trump's conviction, because I thought that was a ridiculous piece of grandstanding and quite dangerous for America, because it makes the justice system look like it's being driven by political motivation, not actual justice.
Well, it is. And, you just have to look at American history to see that, for many years in our country, it was, very racist. They would manufacture evidence against black men all the time. Remember?
Yeah.
Well, they do it to their political enemies always. Come on, America. We don't want that. We want justice for all Americans who
do you feel the same way about
blood this government and send their kids to die for it too?
Do you feel the same way about the Hunter Biden case? Do you think that would have happened if he wasn't the president's son?
If he wasn't the president's, it's such a farce. That's supposed to placate all the leftist goons. Like, see, we have equal. No, that one makes it impossible for them to go back and prosecute all the money he took from China and the Ukraine and gave it to the big guy. Now they can't go back and do that because they convicted him of a parking ticket. It just shows you how crooked it is. It shows you who runs it, too.
Who do you think runs it?
And you got to wake up. Who runs it? Let's see, Piers. Let's see. Who does the news media never, ever criticize? But now they realize it's starting to show, so they'll do a little bit of things about Democrats. But you're not allowed to criticize Democrats or their party platform or the things they do or to tell the truth about their open border child trafficking policies. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that Obama, this is his third term. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that Biden is, a hollow puppet that Obama operates. You're not allowed to say that. I don't know what. But anyway, I do feel protected because I am very religious. And so I know that the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Mohammed, and Jesus protects me so that I can speak the truth to people because they need to hear it. And I've given my life to that, and I'm just amping it up because I'm 72, and fuck it, Piers, I'm not going to shut up.
I would expect nothing else, Roseanne. You've been warming up crowds for President Trump. Do you think he's going to win the election, and will you be voting for him? I presume you will.
Well, as I say, Piers, I don't think we're going to have an election. I say that. So, you might want to move on with that one. Next question.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
I think there's many things that could happen, but it seems that, all of these trials that they keep putting him through is election interference. And when they're not able to get away with that anymore, if you've noticed, I just want to talk about the good news, Piers, because I'm tired of the way that the media frames everything, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it just makes people think in a certain way, and it makes them think stuff's going on that ain't going on. Mm. So I just want to talk about what is really going on, Piers, because people don't know.
Well, I certainly think there is a very liberal skewed mainstream media in America, no question. But I'm curious why you don't think the election will actually happen. I mean, it's going to happen, isn't it?
I don't think it will happen. I think that America is on the verge of something because it's just too divided. And, they keep trying to amp up the, trying to demonize half the population through the media. And I think they're doing that for a reason. Because maybe, and I think they're bringing in all these millions of people to vote because the American people ain't going to vote for Biden. So they got to bring in voters from all over the world. And they're recruiting them. They're actually flying them from other countries, South America. If you'll Google it, you'll find out. They're recruiting them in countries south of the border and flying them from there to here to certain districts. And then I think they're going to try to give mass amnesty to them so they can vote for Biden. They're on the payroll. And,
look, what I would say about that, Roseanne, you're saying a lot of...
want that?
Well, I would say this. You're saying a lot of things which are not substantiated. I know these are theories that people are putting out there. But the one thing I would say about it is that Trump's popularity with his...
I just heard them substantiated by 4 sources yesterday. Last night I stayed up all night.
I'm about to make a point
there.
So
it is substantiated.
Okay, I'm about to make
it was part of the questioning of
I'm about to make a wider point,
Mayorkas.
Which is Trump's support with Hispanics and with Black Americans is rising sharply. He doesn't need this.
Thank God.
Yeah, but they don't need,
No, they're not here to vote for Trump. They're here to vote for Biden. Hello? This is a Democrat Party operation. Plus to bring in, people that they can pay less money to work in their homes. They love that. I knew that when I was in Hollywood. First thing I did when I went over to rich people's house is go in the kitchen and ask them how much they's getting paid, and it was always poor wages in all these millionaire houses. I'm telling you, the Democrats are not who they was when I was a girl. They're not your daddy's Democrats. They're communists, jihadis, crazy people that should be in mental institutions. Believe me, I was put in several mental institutions, and I'm far more sane than any of these people. I don't walk around showing my wiener to kids, but they lock me up.
What do you think? I mean, Joe Biden, there was a clip, I want to show you a clip of him where he appeared to be freezing. This was a Juneteenth celebration. Let's have a look at this.
Trying to hold it in.
Well, he's just like frozen, like a statue, and it went on for about a minute. I mean, it seems to me pretty obvious that Joe Biden is sadly in the early stages of genuine dementia. Is that what it seems to you?
It really does, and it makes me sad because one of my mom's boyfriends that she killed, we joke because she overfed them until they had heart disease and died. But anyway, this one, he was a lovely man, a lawyer. But he did have that, and he did die a torturous death because of it. And you can see that he is suffering from that. And why they keep sending out this poor old man, I mean, I have compassion for him as a human being. Why they're doing that to him shows how they have another thing wrong with him. He should be in treatment and be taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment at the...
He can't even form a sentence.
Yeah, there was a moment at the D-Day ceremony in France where he tried to sit on an invisible chair. Let's take a look. I mean, he's literally trying to sit on a chair that isn't there, and that is in front of the whole world.
Well, a lot of people thought he had, pooped himself.
Distinguished guest.
But
Well,
now
yeah.
that I'm seeing it again, I think you're right. Yeah.
But it's sad to watch, isn't it? No one takes pleasure watching that.
It is very sad, and they should have more compassion for an old man who obviously is having dementia problems. It's obvious to everybody. And, there's so many Americans who are suffering from that. You wouldn't drag them out in front of the camera to very significant American historical, meaningful events and thrust them into that. It's just sad.
Do you think Jill Biden should be doing more to protect him?
Yeah, she's oblivious. She is, what you get when you get a trophy wife, when, you meet her when she's your 15-year-old babysitter. You're going to probably say that's not correct too, knowing you. But it is true, and you can Google everything I say because I don't lie. I get 4 sources.
Well, you may have 4 sources, but what you just said is actually not true.
That Jill Biden was Biden's babysitter when she was 15?
Yeah, that is not true.
You're saying that ain't true?
Not true.
Okay, get on Google and let Piers
Roseanne,
know.
you cannot believe everything you read on Google.
Okay, people, let Piers know. Send him the Google. Maybe it's been discounted. I don't know.
It has.
Half the crap you say is BS. What are you jumping down my throat for? You and your Palestinian crap.
What Palestinian crap? What are you talking about?
You're framing a horrible narrative, Piers.
Go on, explain to me.
That is like, you're allowing just the worst conversations with the worst people.
Really?
And I know you have to. And I guess I respect you for having to do it because otherwise you wouldn't be allowed on the media. Nobody like me is ever going to comment. They're not going to allow me to comment.
You're literally on a show called...
That's why I'm happy you have me on because I would like to comment.
I'm literally allowing you right now. If you want to talk about the Israel-Hamas war, talk about it now.
I'd like to give my opinion based on the Bible. They won't let me base my opinion on the Bible because I'm a Jew. Well, we wrote it, so back off.
Well, you could have any opinion you like. What is your opinion
of
the war?
You do get blacklisted for certain opinions, don't you, Piers?
Well, what is your view of the war?
Well, I say that October 7th, this is my opinion, that the people who were massacred, the Jews, and other people, because a lot of them were, not just Jews. They were Filipino, they were Arab, they were everybody who lived in that neighborhood. They were sacrificed to Moloch.
What do you mean?
I want to say that. And
what does that mean, Roseanne?
we are at war with a death cult that is addicted to human blood, war, slavery, debt, suffering, and misery. And it's a war on a whole other level.
You're talking about, I want to be clear what you're talking about. Are you talking about Hamas there?
They're just one part of it. It's all evil, an evil death cult of blood-addicted leaders who use anti-Semitism as a tool to a larger end. And their goal is the subjectification of all free people to feudal slavery.
All right, let me ask you, do you have any...
We're seeing on the news all this stuff about, is Israel an occupier? Are Jews evil? Are Jews horrible? Are Jews Nazis? That's 24/7. Are Jews the new Nazis in every conversation? Are Jews committing a Holocaust? Every conversation. Now that's evil. But, I understand that that's what the media, which is using anti-Semitism as a tool, and must, because the owners of the world decree it to be so. But something else is happening that people aren't allowed to know about. And you're going to say this is crap too. Because you have to, and you see it
only
a
if I
different
think
way
it's
than I do.
only if I think it's crap.
Okay, but you got to Google it before you say it's crap, Piers.
Well, I might know the answer.
And don't even Google it. Forget Google. That's all BlackRock. Go to some other thing if you can find it. But great things are happening because something else is happening that people don't know about, and we're fighting subterranean wars. And the war that Israel is fighting is actually a part of worldwide subterranean warfare. And that's what I want to say. Against child trafficking tunnels, organ trafficking tunnels, people who have an underground economy that's even bigger than the one we have up here that we work for to pay taxes, all stolen from us and sent to build those tunnels. And the tunnels in Gaza, a lot of people don't know this, were mostly dug by child labor, which is a war crime that Hamas routinely commits. The children are kidnapped from their families and worked underground largely until they die or their families don't get food. It's a yank. I know because I went to Gaza, and myself, several Muslim grandmothers and Christian grandmothers, we prayed together for peace. This was 15 years ago. And I saw, heard, and witnessed things where Hamas commits a war crime an hour and is never called on the carpet for it. Like to break into a neighboring state's borders is a war crime. To use children under 18 as soldiers is another war crime. To waylay foodstuffs and medicines from the population is another war crime. To, like in Yemen yesterday, or last week I think it was, 13 gays sentenced to crucifixion is a war crime. The taking away of civil rights from all women, that's a war crime. Remember, it's backward day every day. But those tunnels laid bare under the Rafah Gate that Egypt erected to keep its own people out because it needs to use them as perpetual PR subjects and slaves. Under that gate was exposed one of the longest tunnels, and this is a different kind of a war that we're engaged in, and it's all because the first thing President Trump did when he came to office was to declare a war on child trafficking.
Okay, but let me ask you this. All right, Roseanne,
is
listen.
what it's all about to me.
Roseanne, you're saying a lot of things that you've obviously read. I want to just read something back to you because I'm confused about your view of Israel and Hamas and Gaza. Because in 2009, on your own personal blog, which appeared on your website, Roseanne World, you did
I know. Well, then we're going to talk about my waking up.
Well, hang on.
Piers.
Hang on.
Great.
I haven't finished it yet. You said that Israel's military campaign against Hamas in Gaza was wrong. You labelled Israel a Nazi state, and you called for an end to Israeli occupation of Palestine. So you've dramatically changed your position.
I did. Well, I was a pure old commie leftist, as was my daddy and his daddy too. I was a red diaper baby, and I supposed those things to be true. I believed what I was raised to believe. And then, as a leftist, I ran for president on a socialist party in 2012.
Yeah.
And it was during that time where I saw that almost everything that the Socialist Party was about was, you know what I did? I read the Goldstone Report. Let's just go there. I read the Goldstone Report.
Yeah, but when you ran for president,
watershed report.
Yeah, but Roseanne, when you ran for president in 2012, one of your policies was to demand an end to Israeli occupation of Palestine. That's 3 years after you called Israel a Nazi state.
Yeah, it was a slow waking up. I did. I called it Israelstein, where children's rights would come first over any other political thing. I've never really been, I've always been a free thinker, even within the confines that I found myself in my political opinions as a socialist. But when I ran for president in 2012, my eyes became open, and I, as they say now, I walked away from the left. I totally and slowly walked away from the left, because when I was giving my political speeches as a candidate for president, it kind of engaged my brain to write those speeches, and I saw that it was farcical, especially when I saw how they chose their candidate, and that I was privy to a lot of inside information as a candidate, which is also why I wanted to run, and found out that, it's a little bit like wrestling, Piers. And nobody really, even more than anybody, the socialists didn't want a socialist to win.
But Roseanne, let me ask you, if you're prepared to...
that's about it.
But if you change your mind so dramatically...
but you know what I did? I became, like Trump, from a socialist, I became a populist. Trump is a populist, and that is why I love him.
I don't disagree with that, but let me ask you, do you think there's a danger that you've become a conspiracy theorist, that you read maybe too much online and you believe a lot of what you read, even if it's not actually true. I mean, do you accept that could be a possibility?
Well, I think that's more of a possibility for you, Piers, because you've said so many cockamamie things that I am always rolling my eyes.
Name one.
But I wanted to come on and set you straight. But I knew you would call me a conspiracy theorist. I dare you to find one thing I've said that didn't happen.
Well,
2 years later. So before you call me a conspiracy theorist,
I didn't call you one
because I'm a conspiracy analyst.
I didn't call you one. I asked if you thought you
don't think it's a conspiracy. You don't think it's a conspiracy, Goldman Sachs working for Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think that's a conspiracy theory?
Well, I'd rather deal in facts that we know. It's just easier than to, go off on wild goose chases about stuff.
Was Jeffrey Epstein any part of any conspiracy with any bank at all?
I don't know. And nor do you.
Google it!
Yeah, but that's my point. You shouldn't read everything. You shouldn't believe everything you can Google. There's a lot of mad stuff on Google.
Well, I read like several sources. I don't,
right.
You know what I mean? Google lists about 70
but out of interest,
links.
but Roseanne,
you don't
out of interest, you think I say a load of stuff that is cockamamie, whatever you call it. Name one thing I've said that you think is completely untrue.
Well, you have a slant and a taint to your opinion, and I see things differently than you do.
But name one thing of mine that you think is wrong.
I don't so much think it's wrong as I think it's not fair.
Like what?
I don't think that you fairly consider the threat we're under at this time, or that we're at war.
I understand all that, but where do you think I've been unfair? I'm curious, genuinely curious.
Well, I think you're grotesquely unfair by having Nazis on your show to say everything that Jews are committing genocide when it's self-defense.
Right.
When it's been 70 years of a war against their survival in a now Judenrein Arab world. You never mention that.
Yeah, but to be clear,
you never mention the Jews expelled from 56 Arab states.
To be clear, Roseanne, I have never said that Israel is waging genocide. I've never called Israel Nazis. You, however, did call them a Nazi state.
I know, but a lot of the people you allow to be in your sphere, they say it almost all your shows.
I have a lot of guests who say that. I have a lot of
you bring on are despicable.
A lot of pro-Israeli guests. A lot of pro-Israeli.
They're inverters of the truth. They just vomit Obama talking points.
And I have Israeli voices who say the complete opposite. Always. I try and be fair.
Yeah, they're all Obama Jews. Everybody you have mostly on is an Obama Israeli. And Israel is in civil war, the same as the United States and the UK is in civil war.
Roseanne, that is simply not true.
You don't think people are in a civil war in our country?
No, I think there's a lot of anger, a lot of toxic tribalism. But no, I don't think America's a state of civil war, and I hope it doesn't get to a state of civil war. But I try and be very...
You don't think people of a conservative Christian opinion are afraid here? You don't think Jewish students on campuses are afraid
Yes,
here?
I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Well, that's not okay.
No, it's not. I agree.
You don't think conservative black people are afraid here?
I think a lot of people in America feel afraid.
You don't think a certain profile person is being discriminated against here in every walk of life, who doesn't go along with the prescribed narrative? You don't think they're suffering here?
I think millions of
people... You don't think the whole Western world is on the verge of flame?
No, I don't.
You don't think Russia is being provoked by the Biden administration?
No, I think Russia illegally invaded a sovereign democratic country in Europe, and America is helping that sovereign democratic country defend itself, which I think is the only moral course of action America should be pursuing. And I find it quite extraordinary, actually, that people on the right in America think that America should withdraw all support for Ukraine, who got invaded by a ruthless Russian dictator who wants to restore the Soviet Union. So no, I don't agree.
Well, the war in Ukraine is actually about tunnels too, Piers.
Tunnels.
And about biolabs owned by billionaire Americans.
Right. It's funny.
You should Google that.
You know
we are on different planets.
Well, yeah, I think we are on different planets because I think you're Googling stuff which is not true.
But Piers, when you go to Google, there's 75,000 sources you can read.
Correct.
Some of them contradict the other, but you keep reading until you can ascertain a truth.
Right.
You don't just read one and go, oh, hey. I'm not an idiot.
You're not an idiot, but I do think you are, unfortunately, being led down to
I'm on the other side as you. I think we're in a deep spiritual war that a lot of people should find out about. And it is good versus evil. It is. It's about being free and being enslaved. And I see that we're winning. I see that we're winning. I'm just going to leave it there. I think freedom, liberty, women's rights, intelligence is winning.
Well, I would certainly like to think all those things are winning. We probably agree with a lot more than you think. I think I'm a lot fairer than you seem to think I am. I give everyone a platform, including you.
Well,
I'm not
Piers,
trying to censor
that's why
you.
You've let me come on. You're very fair to allow me to come on and say these things.
Yeah.
People can decide for themselves if what I'm saying is crazy or not. They've called me crazy my whole life, but I'm always right. But do the research yourself and see, and read military.gov above all else.
Okay, Roseanne, it's always good to see you. Good luck with your tour and your new podcast. I'm glad you remain uncancelled. I'm glad you come on Uncensored, and I have not attempted to censor you.
I know, Piers, and I really appreciate it. God bless you, Godspeed. And, when Trump wins November 7th, it's going to be such liberty and freedom. No more taxes. Nasara and Gesara go into effect. And I'll leave it there. Love you all.
Roseanne, good to talk to you.